They are trying to play us again. After years of attacking the royal family through Oprah, Netflix, Spare, all of it. Now we're supposed to believe that Harry and Meghan never really hated the monarchy because of their new PR hire. This isn't reconciliation, this is reputation rehab, and it's straight out of the narcissist playbook. It's called image laundering. Let me show you exactly how it works, but before we begin, here's the intro. Welcome to Revealing the Narc. Join me as I highlight narcissistic traits in celebrities and public figures. Everything here is in my opinion and not professional advice. If you enjoy the analysis, please like and subscribe. The article I want to go through today is titled "The Palace's Meeting with Meghan's Cheerleader Chief of Communications, who loves William and Catherine, could mark the beginning of a period of reconciliation within the royal family," expert claims. This was just published, and what I want to do in this video, I'm going to go through this article, give a bit of commentary, and then we're going to focus on this image laundering and how Harry and Meghan, specifically Meghan, is trying to spin this all to her benefit. The article begins, in her now notorious response to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's interview with Oprah, the late Queen Elizabeth II said, "Recollections may vary." Now, in the aftermath of last week's bombshell meeting between the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's communications secretary and the King's aide, recollections between the two camps are once again varied. On Monday, Mail Online revealed that Harry and Meghan denied leaking details of the rendezvous between Meghan's cheerleader, head of comms, Meredith Maines, and the King's communications secretary, Tobin Andre, in London on Wednesday, July 9th. We were talking about this on my live stream yesterday about how Meredith, Meghan's communications secretary, actually resides in Southern California. So if this was some sort of concerted effort, it would take time to plan it. So there is a little bit to think about there. I also really don't see this as a sign of reconciliation between the two parties. And we'll get into that because of one of the things that Meredith actually spearheaded during her time working for Harry and Meghan. Because if really you were trying to mend a rift, I think that would be better achieved maybe through mutual family members rather than employees. But you all let me know your thoughts, what you think about that. The article continues, Meghan and her current PR guru share some unlikely parallels within both their personal and professional lives. Both of them are working mothers from California who cut their teeth working within Hollywood's entertainment industry. And now you're going to see this image laundering that's going to come up. And I'll go into more detail about what image laundering is. It's essentially a strategic cleanup effort designed to rewrite public memory and to soften reputational damage. So Meghan is hitching her wagon, I think that's the phrase, to Meredith. And you'll see as we go through this article how they're trying to say, because of Meghan's association with Meredith, that Meghan isn't what we have believed all this for. And you can see already from this first paragraph, they're comparing Meghan and Meredith as cutting their teeth working with Hollywood's entertainment industry. I'm not sure exactly what cut their teeth means, but I would imagine it means working hard and ambitiously. And essentially, by association, we're supposed to assume that Meghan did the same. And you'll see more of this in the next paragraph here. It says, both are also lovers of horses, with Maines having joined the equestrian team while studying at Stanford University, and Meghan, who has taken a keen interest in polo in recent years. Okay, like, it's laughable. It's laughable because Meghan is not interested in polo. Meghan is interested in the pictures she gets to take when her husband is playing polo and accepting awards. Meghan is also really interested in any money that can be made with polo and potential documentaries. So no, this is not, in my opinion, something that Meghan has in common with Meredith. And now you see, so up until this point, they're trying to tell you, look how close Meredith is to Meghan. Look how similar their personalities are, their thought processes are. And here is the manipulation. The article says, interestingly, the PR guru is something of a royalist. In 2011, Maines took to X on the day before Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales' wedding to declare that she planned to watch 8 hours of royal wedding coverage. It goes on to say, after the wedding, she also claimed to have overindulged in the event. So now they want us to associate Meghan and Meredith. And now we're also associating Meredith with having a positive view of the royal family. And by what is the cumulative property? Is that what we did in mathematics, where if A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C? That's essentially what they're trying to get us to think, and it's not working. This is exactly image laundering. And as we go through this article, and we get closer to the end of the video, I'm going to show you how you can recognize it if this is something that happens in your life. The article continues, it is not known whether it was Charles or Harry who arranged the peace talks between Mainz and Andre, but pictures of the two sides enjoying drinks raised hopes of reconciliation. In my opinion, I don't see that this was an effort on reconciliation, because again, I don't think this would go through the medium of two employees. I think if it was reconciliation, it would be more private. And this to me, I was joking in the live stream yesterday that maybe Meredith is tired of working for Harry and Meghan, and she's doing networking. She's networking to find new jobs, or she's hoping that, she can get a letter of reference or recommendation from previous coworkers. But it's just strange, and I don't believe that it was for reconciliation. The article then goes on to say that Harry and Meghan are said to have been frustrated that pictures of the extraordinary meeting were published in the Mail on Sunday, and sources close to Harry have insisted the Sussexes were not responsible for passing details of the meeting, onto the newspaper. So I maybe nitpick words a little bit here and there, but notice how it says sources close to Harry, not sources close to Meghan and Harry, but sources close to Harry. What this implies to me is Harry is under the impression that the Sussexes were not responsible for passing the details. But could Meghan have been involved and Harry just doesn't know it? This seems like plausible deniability to me, and you all let me know if you see that here as well. The article continues, while who approached whom has not been confirmed, the Times reported that Mainz did not have instructions from the Sussexes to meet with representatives from Prince William, but Buckingham Palace was contacted. So essentially they're confirming what we've already read before, and this really, I think, clarifies how the Sussexes feel towards the Prince and Princess of Wales, because they were instructed, or they were not instructed, to meet with their representatives. I still don't think that this was a reconciliation attempt. I think if anything, if it really was a meeting of the minds to connect the Sussexes with King Charles, the motivation would be financial, meaning Harry and Meghan are asking for money. And if that is the case, then why would William be contacted? So that makes sense if the goal was financial. The article continues and says that Harry and Meghan reportedly initiated this meeting, as it is clear that any contact with the royal family which could have positive connotations is pivotal to them, as they have nothing else to offer. They want to be associated with reconciliation, yet previously have been so destructive. Absolutely true. And let's be even more clear. If they're saying that this was a reconciliation attempt, it wasn't with the royal family. It was with King Charles. And then the last paragraph on this page says, the motives of both parties, who knew, who leaked it, and whether Prince William was aware of it, as he obviously should have been, are currently matters which are hotly debated. And again, we're all on the outside. We don't really know. We can just speculate. Based on the information I've read so far, these are my opinions about it. But as new information becomes available or I hear other perspectives, I'm open to changing my thoughts on it. Okay, now I think this is the interesting part. We're going to learn a little bit about Meredith. She joined the Sussexes earlier this year. She is the most senior aide in the arrangement nicknamed the Sussex Royal Household, formed in June, which was reportedly intended to resemble the structure Harry used to work with when he was a senior working royal. Harry and Meghan hired her in February ahead of the launch of her Netflix series. And before she worked for the Sussexes, Mainz was previously head of communications for the streaming giant Hulu, and she worked for Google before that. So this is not someone who is new to the game. She has worked as head of communications for huge companies, and she also worked for another tech company, Google, that is huge. And finally, the article closes out with this. Her time working with Harry and Meghan got off to somewhat a bumpy start following Harry's interview with the BBC and the launch of Meghan's latest business ventures. Fitzwilliams told Mail Online, it has been claimed that Maines was the chief architect of Harry's recent BBC interview after he lost his case over security. It was reportedly going to be relatively short. Instead, it went on for over half an hour. So now we have a name and face that we can put to the architect behind that terrible, awful BBC interview that Harry did, where he said things like he's disappointed in the UK people, where he claimed that some people want history to repeat itself, implying ill thoughts towards him related to Princess Diana's passing. So it's just curious that Meredith, who engineered this or was the architect of this BBC interview, is the one meeting with Buckingham Palace. This article isn't just about a meeting. It's a textbook example of narcissistic image laundering, a strategic cleanup effort designed to rewrite public memory and soften reputational damage without accountability. Narcissists often use this tactic when their public image has soured and they need to borrow credibility, rewrite history, and manipulate optics, and all at the same time, they keep their hands clean. And here's how this all plays out in the Meghan and Harry's narrative using Meredith Maines as the vehicle. We see impression management, and this is core to image laundering. Narcissists obsess over how they are perceived. When the tide turns against them, they begin curating associations that suggest innocence, goodwill, or connection, even if those associations are disconnected from reality or outdated. In this case, the press is heavily leaning on a tweet from 2011 where Maine said she was planning to watch 8 hours of royal wedding coverage to prove that Meghan and Harry aren't anti-royal after all. But let's be real, liking a royal wedding almost 15 years ago doesn't make you a palace loyalist in 2025. And it definitely doesn't erase the last 5 years of damning interviews, documentaries, and tell-alls. This is retrospective cherry picking, a PR tactic designed to confuse the audience and blur the narrative Meghan's pushed that the royal family is racist, cruel, and abusive. It's not about reconciliation, it's about redefining perception. The second toxic trait, narcissistic trait I see here is gaslighting in the soft form. And what do I mean by that? This is not an outright denial, but a strategic rewrite of the emotional tone of past events. And this is another layer of this image laundering. It's an attempt to make the public question their memory of events. We've all seen it. They went on Oprah and said the institution made Meghan want to do something horrible to herself. There was a Netflix docuseries built around their grievances, and Harry's memoir accused his family of cruelty, neglect, and favoritism. Now, suddenly, the public is being fed a subtle narrative that maybe they weren't that anti-royal after all. Look at their new head of communications they hired. She loved William and Catherine, and maybe it is the public that misunderstood. And finally, I want to talk about this strategic association or borrowed credibility. This is one of the most insidious tactics of narcissistic image laundering, using someone else's reputation to clean up your own. Maines isn't just any comms hire. She's being represented as a cheerleader for Meghan and a fan of the royal family. That triangulates her into the narrative. If Meredith loves William and Catherine and works for Harry and Meghan, then Harry and Meghan must not be the villains. It's classic triangulation, a manipulation tactic where a third party is brought in to validate one side and disarm critics. But more than that, it's proxy rehabilitation. Instead of apologizing, they hire someone with clean credentials and hope her shine rubs off on them. The core message here is that image laundering isn't healing, it's rebranding. Meghan and Harry aren't walking this back because they regret anything. They're walking it back because they've exhausted their currency. As the royal expert Richard Fitzwilliam put it in this article, any contact with the royal family which could have positive connotations is pivotal to them as they have nothing else to offer. That's the heart of narcissistic image laundering. It's not about change, it's about getting back in good graces just enough to stay relevant and marketable. Let's end this video with 3 signs a narcissist is laundering their image and hoping that you'll forget the truth. The first is they'll align themselves with people you trust to borrow their credibility. They'll name drop your pastor, post quotes from a therapist they never listened to, or suddenly become close to your best friend, all to confuse the narrative. They're using association to scrub their image clean. Just like Meghan hiring a royalist in quotation marks to make herself seem pro monarchy, narcissists will suddenly act like they're besties with people you admire. And they do this to suggest that they've changed. They're not apologizing, they're just hoping those names make you doubt your memory. The second is they use someone else's reputation to distract from their own behavior. They have not changed. They're just hoping their new relationship, their new job, or their new PR team makes you forget the damage they caused. Instead of taking accountability, they hide behind someone respectable and hope that person's good image covers their bad one. They could be saying things like, see, I'm dating someone stable now, or look, my new friend is a mental health advocate. That's not healing, that's proxy cleansing, the narcissist version of slapping a clean label on a toxic product. And then finally, they rewrite the past in subtle ways to soften their image. Suddenly, you were too sensitive. It wasn't abuse, it was just conflict. They're not saying sorry, they're just saying it wasn't that bad. This is the final rinse cycle. They'll start telling a new version of it. They'll start telling a new version of events where their behavior wasn't abusive, it was just misunderstood. Suddenly, the things they screamed, they were just being passionate. The lies they told you, you're just confused. It's not an apology. It's a public relations spin, and the goal is simple: make you and others question what really happened. If this feels familiar, I validate you. You're being image laundered, and it's not growth, it's a tactic. I'm curious to know what you all think about this. If you feel comfortable sharing your stories or experiences that relate to image laundering, I'd love to see them in the comment section below. If this was interesting to you, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you'll know every time I drop a new video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you're looking for a meaningful way to support something beyond the screen, I'd love for you to consider making a donation to the National Domestic Violence Hotline in lieu of super chats and super stickers. They provide 24/7 support and resources for people in unsafe or overwhelming situations, whether that's emotional, physical, or just hard to name. Their information is on the screen should you need to contact them, and you'll find the link to donate in the description of this video. Every little bit helps, and it means a lot. Thank you again for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.